It was a quiet neighborhood on the edge of a small American town, the kind of place where people left their doors unlocked at night and neighbors waved at each other every morning without a second thought, until one unsettling night changed everything. In the large, old house at the end of Maple Street lived the Harris family, John, his wife Martha, and their teenage daughter Lily. Their home was beautiful but carried the weight of history in its walls, a creaking wooden structure built nearly a century ago, with tall windows, a sprawling attic, and a basement that always smelled faintly of damp earth. To most people, it looked charming, even grand. To the Harrises, it was simply home. But lately, odd things had begun to happen inside its walls. Objects went missing, then turned up in places no one had left them. Doors were found open in the middle of the night, though they were locked before bedtime. Martha often brushed it off as forgetfulness or blamed Lily's teenage messiness, but deep inside, she felt a knot of unease. Then, one late autumn night, everything escalated. The family returned from dinner at a friend's house around 10 p.m. The air was crisp, the wind biting as dried leaves scraped across the driveway. John unlocked the front door, and immediately something felt wrong. The hallway was a mess. The vase near the entrance lay shattered on the floor. The drawers of the small cabinet by the stairs were pulled open, contents scattered everywhere. Martha gasped, clutching Lily's arm, while John stepped forward cautiously, his heart pounding in his chest. "We've been robbed," he muttered. He rushed into the living room, and the sight made his stomach drop. The room was completely ransacked. Cushions slashed open, books thrown across the floor, the TV ripped from the wall, and most disturbingly, the old safe hidden behind a bookshelf had been forced open, its contents gone. Martha immediately called the police, her voice shaking, while Lily stood pale and silent, her eyes darting nervously around the dark corners of the house. Within minutes, flashing red and blue lights filled the street, and officers flooded the home. They examined the wreckage carefully, dusting for fingerprints, questioning the family, and assuring them that burglars had likely broken in while they were out. But as the investigation went on, odd details emerged. There were no signs of forced entry. Every window was locked from the inside. The back door, though slightly ajar when they returned, showed no signs of tampering. The safe, though emptied, didn't bear the marks of tools. It looked as if it had been opened by some invisible hand. The officers exchanged uneasy glances, but didn't share their doubts with the family. Instead, they left with promises of increased patrols in the area. John spent the night angrily pacing the living room, muttering about the boldness of criminals these days. Martha tried to calm him, though she herself felt uneasy. Lily, however, said nothing at all. She simply sat on her bed, staring at the shadows crawling along her wall, her hands trembling. She had seen something she dared not tell her parents. The following days brought more strangeness. Items continued to vanish from the house. First it was small things, Martha's silver bracelet, John's favorite watch, Lily's school books. Then larger objects disappeared, an antique mirror from the hallway, a heavy lamp from the study, even furniture, as if someone had silently dragged them away while the family slept. Each morning they woke to find more missing, and yet the house remained locked, sealed as if no one had entered or left. John accused Lily of sneaking friends into the house, or Martha of misplacing things, but deep inside he was terrified. The police visits brought no answers. No fingerprints, no footprints, no evidence of anyone at all. And then came the night Martha awoke to the sound of footsteps. It was past midnight, and the house was cloaked in darkness, the only sound the ticking of the grandfather clock downstairs. But then, faintly, she heard it, the distinct creak of floorboards, slow and deliberate, moving across the hallway. She nudged John awake, whispering urgently. He grabbed a baseball bat and crept toward the door, his breath sharp and quick. As he stepped into the hallway, his blood ran cold. There, at the far end, half shrouded in shadow, stood a figure. It was tall, impossibly thin and translucent, almost blending into the darkness, like a faint shimmer of smoke given shape. For a heartbeat, John thought he was dreaming. But then the figure turned its head toward him, and two hollow, glowing eyes locked onto his. Before John could even react, the figure vanished, gone as if it had never been there. John stumbled back, gasping, his bat clattering to the floor. He told Martha what he saw, though she didn't want to believe it. "It's just stress," she whispered, trembling. But deep down, she knew it wasn't. The next morning, half the kitchen was gone. Cabinets ripped from the wall, plates and cutlery missing, even the refrigerator gone without a trace. It was no longer just theft, it was a haunting. Desperate, the Harrises sought help from a local priest, Father Reynolds, who had dealt with unsettling cases before. He arrived with his Bible and a solemn expression, walking slowly through the rooms as though he could feel the air thickening with unseen presence. "This is no ordinary spirit," he finally said, his voice low. "It doesn't just linger, it takes. It steals. It consumes." The family listened in horror as he explained that some spirits, trapped between worlds, fed off possessions, pulling them into the void where they wandered. He agreed to cleanse the house. That night, Father Reynolds performed the ritual. The family gathered in the living room as he recited prayers, his voice firm, the air growing colder with each passing minute. Shadows twisted unnaturally across the walls, and the lights flickered violently. Suddenly, a deafening crash shook the house. The bookshelf toppled, furniture rattled, and a piercing shriek echoed from nowhere and everywhere at once. Lily screamed as the ghostly figure appeared again, clearer than before, tall, hollow-eyed, and dripping with darkness, its hands outstretched as if to grasp at them. The priest continued chanting, sweat pouring down his face, until finally the figure let out a final, guttural roar and vanished. The silence that followed was suffocating. For days afterward, the house was calm. No more thefts, no more shadows, no more whispers in the night. The Harrises dared to hope that it was over. But then, one evening, as Martha prepared dinner, she opened a cabinet and froze. Every missing item, every piece of silver, every book, every piece of furniture, was stacked neatly inside, impossibly crammed into the space, as though returned all at once. But they weren't the same. Each object was altered, darkened, warped, carrying an unnatural chill when touched. And when John reached for his watch, he swore he felt a hand grasp his wrist, icy and unseen, pulling. He yanked back, his face pale, and slammed the cabinet shut. The family realized then that the ghost had not been banished. It had only gone deeper into the walls, waiting, watching, hungering still. From that night on, no one in the Harris family ever spoke of burglars again. They knew the truth, a truth too terrifying to admit aloud. Their home was not robbed by thieves of flesh and blood, but by a thief from beyond the grave, a restless ghost that would never stop stealing until it claimed the one thing it desired most. Not objects, not furniture, not money, but souls. And as the days grew darker and the nights colder, they knew it was only a matter of time before the ghost turned its hollow eyes back on them.